please. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the National Jazz Museum in Harlem.
Good evening.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out. My name is Ryan Maloney. I work in the Education and Programming Department here at the museum. We're really excited that you were all able to come out and join us tonight. How many of you is it your very first time at the museum? Aha. Our Zuckerman partnership, we always get some newbies in. We appreciate you giving us the chance. We understand there's a lot of things going on in New York City, lots of arts programming, and it's always great when you try something new. So welcome if this is your first time. If you would like to keep in touch with us, it's really easy on our website, jmih.org. You can sign up for our email newsletter, and that will allow you to get a nice, concise email every Tuesday afternoon letting you know what the events are that are coming up here at the museum. We present over 100 public programs a year, and we'd love to have you at some of those. Thursday afternoons, we have a partnership live from Harlem that we do with the Jazz Foundation of America, also with the Jazz Foundation of America on the fourth Monday of the month, we have a jam session here in our space. Lots of great programming coming up, so please keep in touch. You can follow us on social media. This particular series has been running, one of our longest running series now. It's a fascinating opportunity for us to get together musicians and neuroscientists, and you might think, well, what does that actually look like? And you're going to learn what that looks like. We've been doing this in partnership with the Zuckerman Institute over at Columbia University for 5 or 6 years now, probably 6 years, is that right? So it's a great opportunity for us to connect here uptown with our Manhattanville campus of Columbia and to bring all you guys together. You're in for a great evening. I'm going to pass over the mic to our host, MC. If you know jazz, if you're out in jazz, if you spend time in Harlem, you know her. This is Amanda Hume, so welcome.
Thank you so much, Brian. And I realized oh, okay. Thank you. They're gentlemen. Thank you so much. I love it. Hi, everybody. My name is Amanda Humes. I'm a jazz tour guide right here in Harlem. Brian, thank you so much for that gracious introduction, and thank you for your partnership with the Zuckerman Center and Jazz and the Jazz Museum. So we're delighted to be here. Our subject for tonight is going to be all about jazz, synchronicity, and the brain. And I like to get things started with some music. What do you say, guys? Okay, we have the Bill Buchman Trio with us, and since we're going to be talking about light and color and circadian rhythms, and let's start with the light, with the sunny side of the street. I give you to Bill and the Bill Buchman Trio. How wonderful. Let's give this wonderful band a hand, but I want to make sure that you know who you're clapping for. This is Mr. Bernard Lynette on the drums. And one of the guys with one of the coolest names in the industry, Mr. Boots Mousen on bass. Boots on bass. I always like that. And of course, the man that brings it all together and is tickling the ivories over here, Mr. Bill Buchman on piano. So thank you, guys. Oh my goodness, you guys are getting a treat today. So that's good. All right, so what I'd like to also do is to take a moment, because we're going to have a lovely conversation about a little creature that you might not know so much about. But luckily for us, we have a beautiful lady who knows a lot about them. And I want to introduce her now. Her name is Rachel Estrella. And Rachel is a fourth-year graduate student in neurobiology and behavioral doctoral program at the Benya program of the Columbia Zuckerman Center. So I want to welcome her now. Come on up, Rachel. She has a very lovely concentration that she's working on, and I am so excited to welcome her because she has a lot to say about her lovely friend, the fruit fly. And as we were having our Zoom call, putting this all together with Bill, because Bill is not only a beautiful musician, but he is also a visual artist. He's a painter. And his work is wonderful. And as we were having this conversation about tonight's topic, Bill brought up a very interesting story. And Bill, would you like to share that story about color, light, rhythm, and the work that you do and how it crosses paths with Miss Rachel's work?
Yes, I would.
Okay, woo.
When you mentioned, when we first had the conversation and I found out that this was going to be about the fruit fly, I, laughed to myself because I thought, I've actually had experience with fruit flies, which is kind of weird. And basically, and we've all had experiences with fruit flies, but this was a little more intense because it was in my painting studio, which was in Florida, and where there's all kinds of different critters. And one day I was painting, and I hadn't been there in a few days, and I was painting. I had a big painting, and I had some very bright areas. And I had learned, while I was still in high school, I had a very nerdy friend who did a project on fruit flies. And he told me in, I think the 9th grade, I'm studying these insects that are attracted to the light, which at that age I'd never heard of, and I thought that sounded really weird. And it's called phototropism, right? And so I'm sitting there painting, and this has happened, and anyone who has painted may have had, with oils or acrylics, may have had this experience with occasionally bugs will fly into the paint. And you can just imagine guys like Cézanne and Van Gogh, what they had to deal with out in nature, with a constant assault of bugs, which you don't really think about when you look at the paintings, but that's what it's like. And so I was painting this day, and a fruit fly came by, and they're attracted to the light, and I had some very light areas, and it flew. First of all, it's a big studio, but he doesn't go to the wall or to some table. He comes over to me because I'm doing something, and then he sees what I'm doing, and he thinks, that looks interesting, that bright area there, and he dives right into the paint. Oh. And that's the end of the fruit fly. So I have to pick him out with a tweezer so he doesn't become a permanent part of the painting. And 6, 7 minutes, and I thought, well, I got him, so this is cool. 6 or 7 minutes later, another one comes, does the same thing. I'm still, that's not totally surprising. Pick him out. Every 5 or 10 minutes, one single fruit fly appears, and dives right into the paint. And I'm just getting a little frustrated, and because now I feel like I'm being tortured by some unknown force. But I'm concentrating on the painting, so it probably takes me about 7 or 8 of these instances before I thought, there is a reason this is happening. And I have no idea what it is, but I better stop and find out or I'm going to go crazy. So I went wandering around the studio, and I went over to, I have a special paint garbage can that has a lid that's not quite airtight, that flips open, and I flipped it open, and out flew a fruit fly. So I said, well, now I know where they're coming from. And I dug down, and I found a perfect fruit fly incubator, which had once been a cup of soda, a root beer float if you want to know. Anybody here like root beer floats? Okay. So, and somehow, and it had a plastic cap and a straw, and somehow a fruit fly or two had made it in there and decided to procreate, which is what fruit flies are. This is one of the connections with science. They're some of the super experts at this particular activity, so they're really swingers. And so when I picked up this cup, there were like 500 fruit flies. And they were just one by one figuring out how to get out through the straw. It was like a system for providing fruit flies to torture me. So luckily, I was able to remove them all at one time because they were in a nice enclosed space. And that's my fruit fly story.
Oh, lovely, lovely. Thank you so much, Bill. You provided the love motel for the fruit flies.
I sure did.
And it just shows you how musicians and artists are all, and bugs are all connected. So, in one way or the other. So, thank you for that, Bill. And I want to just also get our conversation started with our speaker for tonight. And Rachel, thank you so much. And I want to just tell you, it's interesting to speak with you about this, and I want to just find out, and I'm sure everybody else out there is sort of wondering, how did you start with the Binya Institute? How did you arrive at the Binya Institute and the Zuckerman Institute? Mm-hmm. So how would you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, definitely. So again, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. So yeah, my journey into science definitely did not begin with the love or interest of fruit flies. Again, I saw them as a nuisance just like most people. But I've always sort of been interested in biology and how cells work and how they function together to allow a system to do a larger thing. And in high school and in college, I started to be really interested in how the cells of the brain work, or neurons, and how these neurons perform complex tasks together and ultimately give rise to really interesting human behaviors. And so starting research in undergrad, I was really interested in this topic, and the first research lab that I was placed in was actually a fly lab. And it was really funny because I got placed in the lab, I didn't choose it, and I was like, fruit flies, like what are they gonna tell me about the brain or about neuroscience and behavior? And it was funny, I was having a conversation with my mom, and she was like, flies have brains? And I was like, apparently, I guess so. But when I started to learn about some of the tools researchers were using to use fruit flies to understand more about how the human brain works and how neurons work in general, I was really interested and excited to keep going. So that's how I found myself in New York at the Zuckerman Institute. Really, the Binya Lab grabbed my attention because they take really cool approaches in trying to understand how the brain takes signals from the environment to allow us to make determinations about the world around us and then interact with the world appropriately. So as you might have mentioned, the sort of central topic of my research is how the circadian rhythm is informed by signals in the environment. And so you might be familiar with the circadian rhythm, or most notably like the sleep-wake cycle. So you typically feel awake in the morning during the same time every day, and you typically start to get sleepy at the same time every night. And it's your brain and the neurons in your brain that are keeping time and telling your body when to do these different processes. And it's really important that these processes happen at the right time, right? So you want to get you want to be awake during the morning and you want to be sleepy at night. And we kind of all know what it feels like in our bodies when our brain clock isn't in sync with our environment, right? Like we just had daylight savings, or if you've ever had jet lag, this is when your body's clock or your brain clock is out of sync with the environment. And so I'm really interested in how the brain is then taking signals from the environment to say, okay, it's daytime, and we should align the clock with day and let our body do the day activities, or say, actually, it's closer to midday, so let's switch the clock to this time. And so one of the signals that I'm really interested in looking at is color. And so I'm sure as New Yorkers, we're all sort of familiar with different color scenes that happen at different times of day. So in dawn, you'll see different colors in the sky versus midday, and at dusk, you'll see brilliant sunsets. So there's actually color changes that happen over the course of the day that can tell the brain what time of day it is. So this is the kind of things I'm interested in, and as you kind of mentioned, we use the fruit fly to investigate these questions.
Why the fruit fly?
Yeah. It is an unassuming little creature to study neuroscience, but it's actually like a long tradition in science to use fruit flies. And one of the reasons because they have so many genes, surprisingly, that are similar or the same in humans. So they're actually a really good model for understanding human tissues and things. What's also great is the flies have circadian rhythms just like humans. So they have times of day when they're sleepy, they have times of day when they're awake and they want to hunt for food and things like that. And so they're a good model system for understanding the sort of happenings of the circadian rhythm.
Now, let me ask you, other than Bill's trash can, where would you find fruit flies? Like, why are they such a good model for you? Is there a farm upstate for fruit flies?
Yeah, so luckily I don't have to go out and hunt for these fruit flies. Like in modern science research, there is like a place that you could just kind of order the flies from. So I don't have to do any hunting, which is great.
Like Uber Eats for fruit flies.
Basically. Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about your central hypothesis for your work? Because it sounds fascinating.
Yes. So essentially the hypothesis, again, is that the color changes that are happening across the day can help the brain tell what time it is and sort of use it as an added signal. So I'm sure for everyone, light is probably the most obvious signal that can tell you whether it's day or night. But sometimes different weather patterns make intensity or how bright the light is a less obvious signal. So we've also had those scenes in New York where it's cloudy all day, every day for like 7 weeks or whatever in the wintertime, or rainy or whatever. So in those conditions, the color changes that happen are actually more prominent than the intensity changes. And so the central hypothesis is that the clock neurons in the Drosophila brain can respond to the color changes that are happening during the day and use it to set the timing of the rhythm.
Okay, so that's I see how you're connecting, because right now, even as you're talking about that, you're getting a little rhythm. You're getting a little rhythm. So we could talk a little bit about how these, because you said that there is a set rhythm we all have in our bodies, and it's sort of an internal clock. And I want to talk a little bit with Bill, because you're a jazz musician, and we have beautiful jazz musicians behind us. And when we're talking about what does the circadian rhythm mean to the scientist and to rhythm as it pertains to being a jazz musician and playing in a jazz, what are we, a trio?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to need your help, Amanda, because we did this last time. If I'm going to demonstrate some stuff on the piano and talk at the same time.
I will come help you.
Thank you.
Okay. It's always good to have a Vanna. Okay. Okay. Shall I sit next to you?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. What do you need me to do?
Okay, there we go.
Right there? Okay.
So I'm sorry not to be facing with the audience, but at any rate, I'm going to talk about rhythm, like what is rhythm? okay? I mean, time is one thing. Time is a big and apparently infinite continuum. And rhythm is what divides it up into distinct units. And in music, you do that. Well, first of all, let's just take the clock. If you have particularly a ticking clock, it's just going, you know, tick, 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 and it's kind of boring. In music, it's a little more interesting. And, you know, we might have something like this. And that sounds pretty good. But that is not the rhythm, generally speaking, of jazz. That's kind of a march rhythm, really, and it is, of course, how people coordinate when they're marching to that beat. But in jazz, which swings, something else happens. And there's been, you know, Boots, my old friend, we went to school together, and Kathy Farmer, who's here tonight, wonderful vocalist. We all went to New England Conservatory, and I'm sure you all remembered, there were discussions in class about what is swing, long discussions, and how does it happen? And then there were all kinds of numerical theories, some of them very sophisticated. But I've come to the conclusion that it's very simple. And because in jazz and blues, there's something called a shuffle rhythm.
Okay.
So instead of the shuffle rhythm is like this. So that sounds better, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I have a question.
Sure.
So how does one as a musician get all of these wonderful people who are separate to stay in rhythm?
Well, you just saw an example of that with
Okay.
just a little wink of the eye and a tilt of the head, and we're all on it.
Okay.
But I mean, a lot of it has to do with, you know, we've been doing this all our lives, and I think that's the same with the fruit flies and animals. They get used to the systems and the rhythms, and they just respond. But and we also did study this, but it is something very natural that happens, and also it's something that maybe when you first start out studying music you don't understand and can't do, and you learn how to do it, and but rhythm and timing is what enables the musicians to coordinate, because we actually know which beat we're on all the time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
That's because you learn the music and you.
Yeah. And so we know exactly which beat, hopefully, you know, most of the time.
Okay.
And that is what really creates the ability to agree and musically.
Awesome.
But
Thank you.
but we're not going to go ahead and play the next rhythmic tune?
Okay, we're gonna get into that.
Yeah.
Unless, do we have any questions from the audience? Okay, I think they want to hear more music. Yes.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
I'm gonna take that shuffle rhythm. I need you again,
Oh, you
Amanda.
need me
I
again?
need you
Okay,
again.
are we getting into the second song?
Yeah, but first I'm gonna just talk a little bit more about this idea of rhythm. So if you just have a note and another note, there's no rhythm.
No.
Okay, so it's boring. And then we could have, or it's a little more interesting, but in jazz it gets a lot more interesting when you do this. We have the shuffle rhythm. And then we can shorten that last beat. And we get this. 1, 2, 3.
All right. Yeah, Bill. Wow, thank you for that. And I forgot to ask, what is the name of that tune, Bill?
By the way, it's called High Fly.
Very appropriate, very impressive. Thank you so much. One more time, everybody, for this wonderful band. They're amazing, amazing. Well, I thought it might be appropriate to take a moment to see if anyone in the audience has any questions regarding rhythm. Oh, we got one. Okay, so what I'm going to need to do is find get a speaker, because we do have some friends out there in streaming land. So hello, friends in streaming land. Welcome to the conversation, and go ahead, raise your hand again, sir, so we can find you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And just getting back to the topic at hand, your stories are fascinating, Bill and the doctor. But I want to hear this fruit flies side of the story.
Okay.
What inspired those fruit flies to work with you on this project?
That was such a nice way to put it.
They have a big rider, right? They ask for green M&Ms.
Well,
Sorry about that.
the fruit flies are super helpful for answering this question. A couple reasons. One, they have a circadian rhythm that the field knows a lot about. Actually, circadian rhythms were discovered using fruit flies. And so we know a lot about how their clock works, and so that's one reason. Another reason why is because they can see color pretty well. They actually can see UV light, which we can't see that well, but UV is a great signal from the sun, and so there's a lot of UV light in the sky that they use. That's another reason. A third reason is that scientists have developed a lot of really cool tools that we can use to probe kind of how the brain is working. So what we can do is express or show a fluorescence in a specific kind of neuron, and we can put the fly's brain under the scope, and actually I have a photo for this. While the fly is alive, we can show the fly different colors, and on the other side we'll have like a microscope objective, so we can actually record how the neurons are responding as we show the flies different colors. Wow. And so this is a super cool way for us to understand how their clock neurons in the brain are responding as we're showing them different color stimuli. So this is some of the really cool reasons why we use flies.
That's very trippy.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Oh, again.
I just want to follow up. Just want to say that if I were a fruit fly, I'd be hanging out in Boots F-holes right now. I mean, what a place.
You have to explain what an F-hole is.
Yes, you do. The base, right in the air hole there. These are these holes shaped like an F.
They look
on
like that.
violins, basses, and cellos. And there's no fruit flies in there.
None that you know of.
Oh my goodness. So, when you're talking about staying in rhythm and sync, when you're studying fruit flies, I think we were talking about when it comes to they follow color and light. And I think we had a conversation about whether or not there are colorblind fruit flies. Does that come in? Do you find that there are some that it just doesn't work because they don't see color? Or what happens to those guys?
Yeah, there definitely are colorblind fruit flies.
Okay.
How we found actually their eyes are not red, they're white.
Oh.
And so they can't see color as well. But what's great about the brain is that it uses a lot of different signals to tell what time of day it is. So color is one. Another one is actually temperature. So fruit flies usually track how hot it is. And when it's warmer, they can tell it's day. And when it's colder, they can tell it's night. So you can actually put fruit flies in a bright room where the lights never turn off. But if you raise the temperature and lower the temperature, then raise the temperature and lower the temperature, they'll pick up a rhythm with the temperature, like it's day and night. So yeah, it's what's nice is that there's redundancy in this system. So if you can't use one, you can use another one.
Fantastic. I'm just going to make sure that we covered all the questions in the audience. Does anyone else have a question? Oh.
So,
Okay, okay.
do I have competition here?
No, we'll go one by one. Ladies
Okay.
first. Ladies
So,
first.
thank you so much. So could you speak a little more to the, so how do we apply that to human? Where do you take this to, oh, this is also what we do, or we
Yeah.
respond more to this, or
That's a great
something?
question. Yeah,
Thank
so the hypothesis is also that humans can use color signals to entrain the circadian rhythm. And where it relates is that there are some people who have what they call circadian time sickness, where your internal clock is just chronically misaligned with your environment. And so the idea is maybe if we come up with a therapy or a signal that's strong enough to sort of help realign the system, then that can help with people who have that misalignment. So for example, shift workers. If you have to be on the night shift 3 days a week and then on the day shift or live your life in the daytime for the other 4 days, your circadian rhythm is constantly in flux. And so if there were some non-invasive way to sort of help realign those signals, that's kind of where this could come in.
Interesting, interesting. Well, we want to get back to that, what you were talking about, night workers, shift workers. We're going to talk a little bit, Mr. Bill, and in just a minute, because I've never had this happen before, but we have a drummer with a question. Mr. Lynette. I heard you back here. What's your question? Yeah. Speak into the...
I'm wondering, is there anything about a fruit fly, one way or the other, that may have any kind of medicinal or serum, anything that has that benefits us as humans, anything that they connected to, or anything they do? You know, sometimes that's wondering if there's anything like that.
So the broader implications of how they can...
Yeah.
And I think we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I'm not sure about directly from the fruit fly. Yeah, but I think there are some, or at least some basic principles of how like different systems works that have come from fruit flies that have then led to the development of different like medicines or like clinical approaches that have come from the study of fruit flies.
Or their interaction with their environment in some kind of way that, you know, produces that, or it has bearing on, you know, the human benefit, medicinal, medicinal.
Interesting question. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So I'd like to just circle back around to the idea of the circadian rhythm and how it applies to the fruit fly and how it applies to jazz musicians, because I don't think... Oh, wait. We have a few more questions. Oh, yay. I see somebody I know. Hello, friend. Tommy Vaughn. Come on up. We got and I saw the other hand go up, too, so I don't think I didn't see you. I saw you.
I was expecting this question to come from the drummer.
Uh-oh.
But since we're talking about clocks and rhythms, how does all this tie to music on the brain?
Yeah, maybe I'll let the musicians answer that, because we were
Yeah.
talking about how, you know, your brain has to coordinate sort of all of the processes that are happening in other pieces of the body. Like your brain is like the master clock, but then you have a clock in, say, your liver or your kidneys or your gut, and the timing all has to be coordinated throughout your body. And that's kind of analogous to how musicians kind of have to coordinate the rhythm, the beat, the movement of the song in order for it to sound.
Yeah. So, Bill, do you want to take that and talk a little bit about that?
I've got a couple thoughts about that.
Uh-oh.
The first I was going to mention is that in Indian music, all of the ragas, and this is a very ancient tradition of music that has a lot of similarities with jazz, because it does involve improvisation and very sophisticated rhythms, and also learned patterns, which we call riffs in jazz. The ragas are constructed around riffs as well. But all the ragas are coordinated to be either morning ragas, afternoon ragas, or evening ragas. And I thought about something. I'm just going to do a quick demonstration. This is one of my theories of music right here. I'm going to play for you day. Or even just. Now I'm going to play night. We're going to get more into that later. But it seemed relevant at the moment. Jazz musicians, of course, have they're shift workers too, basically. And also involves traveling, and then we all know about how these time rhythms affect us when we travel. And sometimes musicians travel and they actually move to other countries with different circadian phenomena. So I lived in Copenhagen for 16 years, and in the winter, the sun doesn't come up till 9 in the morning, and it goes back down at 3 in the afternoon. And that was really tough to adjust to. And even the whole culture is built around that. So it affects not only the musicians, but everybody. And what I think the connection between time and music is that music organizes time. And that's one of the reasons I think we enjoy it so much, right? Just very simple terms of the connection between rhythm.
And you told a quick story about the big band. You had a friend in big band. Do you want to tell that?
You have to tell me a little more.
About the sleep habits of the big band
Okay.
musician.
I'm with you. When I was about 16 and, or 15 or 14, and I'm completely mad about jazz, and I was living in Albany, New York. You've all heard of Albany. It's this town up the Hudson River, 130 miles. Well, the thing is, there's not much jazz in Albany, and that would be my understatement of the night. There might be more now, but there wasn't when I was growing up. But Duke Ellington came to town, and there was a big theater tent which had music. I also saw Louis Armstrong there and a few other people. But Duke Ellington came, and I've been listening a lot to his recordings, and was very excited. And they came out on the stage, and these guys, they were ultimate road warriors, and that is really that's where the circadian rhythms really, really beat you up, and I've experienced that too. So, and I was amazed to see that during the performance, some of the musicians, and this included Johnny Hodges in particular, when it wasn't their turn to play, they were taking a nap on the stage.
Oh my gosh.
And for like a 14 or 15-year-old kid, this is like a shock. Like, what is the matter with what? It was just so weird. But later on, when I was on the road, I understood that better, and so it's a big deal.
I thought it was fascinating that you would say that they would wake up and know how to play.
Yeah,
exactly where they needed to, pick up and.
Yeah, they would never miss a beat. And it turns out, if you read about the history of jazz, that this was in the 20s, when jazz was really, really very, very ubiquitous everywhere, that musicians, it was quite common to be working not just 8 days a week, but actually be doing a double, sometimes a triple, every day of the week. And that they would all take naps on the stage, and everyone just learned how to do that and come in on time. So musicians have to deal with time.
Yes, yes. Now, I noticed that I wanted to talk more about living off schedule, and I realized I want to go back to the gentleman who had his hand up for a question. I did not forget about you. Who had their hand up? What was your question, my dear?
So I have not studied music. I just listen to jazz, love it. So what makes it jazz? Like, I've never heard someone explain that shuffle, or what was that kind of basic. So what's the difference, like Moanin', that song, and like Giant Steps. You can tell it's culture. They're both jazz. How come it's not rock and roll? Like, what makes it jazz? What makes a song jazz? Is there a rhythm that connects it all? Is that what it makes it, the rhythm?
Well, actually, that's an extremely complex question, and we could easily devote a whole evening to that without even a flinch. But the thing that I demonstrated is one of the things that absolutely differentiates jazz from the classical world, and that is that way of playing a melody. Oh, you mentioned Moanin'. So if I played Moanin' like a classical musician, I would play it like this. No. And that's kind of boring. But instead,
Do you need me?
so this is the shuffle rhythm, right? So it's that. That's what in jazz is called swing, and so that's probably as close as you can get to anything like a definition. People used to ask Louis Armstrong, or maybe it was Duke Ellington, I'm not sure, one or the other, what swing is, and with something like, you just got to feel it. You've got to ask, you know. It's a feeling.
Yeah.
So, and that's probably still the truest answer. It's a language of music. It's the product of cultural influences over several centuries, which every form of music grows out of a culture. And then we're getting into a scientific term, because what is culture? Mm-hmm. You know, that little soda can and that had the fruit flies in it, that was a culture. So. But it's interesting when you study how music develops, and particularly jazz, it turns out that there are economic forces, there are social forces, there are political forces. Obviously, it started with, the terrible policy and system of slavery. We really would not have jazz if that hadn't happened. So that's kind of a weird paradox. And then, how everything changed after the Civil War, and basically completely different approach to music, which is the African approach, gets combined with European harmonies and approaches to music because of cultural ways that white Americans and black Americans intermingled in different, very specific social contexts, particularly in New Orleans, and there are all kinds of political and social phenomenon. And then World War II comes along, and they closed down the jazz town in New Orleans where jazz was born, called Storyville, and everybody has to migrate up to Chicago, and on and on. I could go on like this all day.
Yes.
So it's, you can see it's complex, but rock and roll, by the way, is, in my book, and most musical historians, it's an outgrowth of jazz. The early rock and roll really was played by blues musicians. Blues is part of jazz. Really, rock and roll, for the most part, is has a lot of jazz in it. It's when you get into rock, where you take out the roll. It gets a little further away from jazz, but I sometimes play with those guys too, and we find we have a lot in common. So actually, the distinctions are not as great as you might imagine.
Good? Okay. I think we have our next topic for our next Music on the Brain. But thank you for your questions. Truly, we could talk day and night and day about it, right?
For a week.
But I do want to bring us back to this idea of what you were talking about, musicians who live outside of the regular clock. And I want to talk a little bit and ask you, Ms. Rachel, are there fruit flies that sort of live off schedule? They're doing something other than you want them to do? Do you know what they're doing behind closed fruit fly doors?
So behind the closed fruit fly doors, no, I don't know. But I can say in the lab, sometimes we make them live off schedule on purpose, so we can kind of test the limits of the rhythm. And like I said in the experiment where you take a fly and put it in an environment where the light is always on, normally their rhythm is totally disrupted. So they sleep randomly, they're awake randomly, they can't establish a rhythm. So sometimes we put them in those contexts and keep the total light constant, but change the colors of the light. And in that way, see if they could start to pick up a rhythm. And so we're trying to investigate if there's a certain color pattern that allows them to establish a rhythm in a place where they would normally not have one.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. These are all very interesting, and thank you for your questions, everybody. I'm just making sure I covered all the questions. Oh, we got one more.
So I'm just curious about, so when you talk about the light and the color and the different categories of influence, are there some that are, is it also in my mind, we human, we have valence for some, other people have valence for other things. Is this the same with the fruit flies, or are they more homogeneous in their taste?
In their taste, I would say there's diversity for sure. Bill kind of talked about this behavior where the flies are attracted to light, and we kind of are testing or exploring how they might be innately attracted to different colors. And so there's some flies that really like the UV kind of colors that kind of signal more like the sun, and they're really attracted to those. But some are really variable. Some flies like violet, some flies like green. Pretty typically, they freeze when they're exposed to blue light. And so blue kind of pops out as like an interesting color for circadian rhythms. And for humans too, like I'm sure a lot of you have heard of like blue light glasses or trying to block blue light before you go to sleep. And that's because blue is a pretty prominent color that signals to your circadian rhythm. And so, yes, there's an example of that.
Oh. It's great. We have a lot of questions. Go ahead, hon.
Can you tell one fruit fly from the other when you're studying them?
I cannot. No.
Gotta lift up their skirts.
Yeah. So from fly to fly, there might be some discrete thing that makes them different, but no. Largely male versus female, but other than that, no, I can't tell.
Okay. All right.
You have names for them?
I don't, but maybe I should.
Yeah.
Maybe I should start naming my. I don't have any names for them.
Bob,
Right.
Linda.
So, how do you tell the difference between a male and a female fruit fly?
Yeah, sure. I can show you with these photos on the screen, actually. So this one on the screen is a female. And if you look at her behind, you can kind of see how there's stripes going all the way down the back of the fly. And I'll go back to this one in the front. This is a male because instead of having stripes going all the way back, you can see he has like a solid black piece in the back.
So the female got the stripe.
Going all the way down, and the male has the black spot. So yeah, you can kind of see the difference there. Yeah. Wow.
Things you didn't know.
Now you can tell them a difference, yeah.
That's great.
If one lands in your food later, you can try and see, is that a
It's
male
like,
or a
is that
female
a
that landed in my
man fruit
food?
Oh my goodness.
So we really know each other apart.
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
Now I know.
Now you know. You never know what you can learn. You never know what you learn if you come to a Music on the Brain session, right? Fantastic. So, Rachel, I want to just get back to our discussion. And I want to ask you and Bill, at a time where we are now in our history, where sometimes scientific methods aren't being referred to or paid attention to by the larger community. Can you talk a little bit about why your research matters beyond the laboratory, the greater implications? And I want to ask you this too, but well.
Yeah, so I guess as much as the research is like interesting and fun to learn about these fruit flies and their world, but there are so many real applications to human health and society at large. And so, yeah, we were just kind of talking earlier in our discussions about the importance of science funding and the support for the sciences. Even when investigations into little fruit flies might seem so small or discrete or specific, all of scientific knowledge is sort of built incrementally. And so we start in one place and you build and build and build, and you never know what you're gonna discover or what you're gonna create based on the knowledge that's built. And so even if we might not have like the closest clinical application, like drug development from this research, it's just really important to keep exploring what's happening in the brain. And yeah.
And we're so grateful that you are studying these little fruit flies, because you never know what scientific discovery that you will come up with. So we're rooting for you.
Thank
Yay.
you.
We've learned a lot. Now, Bill, you're a painter, you're a musician, and you're a scholar. Can you tell me why do you think that programs and events like Music on the Brain are important?
I sure can.
Or
When I was in Copenhagen, there was a single experience I had once where I met a guy. He was an atomic physicist, and and he was a really smart guy, and I thought, this is going to be really interesting to talk to this guy. And I brought up the subject of art, and he knew literally nothing about it, and it was kind of a shock to realize. Then I started thinking about it and realized that, you know, in the Renaissance and in a few hundred years after that, it wasn't unusual for people to study and do different things and have multiple areas of even professional practice. But we live in a time, because of the economics and the technology, everyone is pretty much forced to specialize. I mean, I didn't blame him for not knowing about art, but I realized that he was the product of a system that kept him closed off from ever having time to develop an interest. And since then, I've been a big fan for having any kind of way to bring people together from diverse portions of the world, because I do think it's a problem that if we don't, most of the problems we have are a result of not understanding one another. So, and that's a good place to start, is bringing, and there are some people, they do have these elite forums when they bring the top people from different fields together, and that's great. But a lot of people just below that level never get to encounter people in other professions. So I'm just pleased to be invited and can do this with Rachel.
Yeah.
And we did it last year.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun, and you know, everything is connected.
It is.
So,
It is.
we need a lot more of this.
Amen. And I'm so grateful that you could come and bring your trio to sort of make the connection between science and music. But because you are absolutely right, we all need this, and I'm so grateful because you've got a fourth member of the band out there. Yes. So we thank you all for being the fourth member of the band and bringing your interest in. Now, as the day has waned. We want to get to our final song of the night, and it is one by the great Thelonious Monk. And as things get dark, you'll recognize the tune. So, Bill?
I need your help.
Oh,
Talk
okay.
about it a little bit here,
Okay.
But it's easier from the other
Oh, over here. Okay. I always have to do with men tongue. It's just easier. Okay, what do you need?
Well, okay. So we were talking about color,
Yes.
and color exists in music too.
Yes.
And color is mostly has to do in music with the harmonies.
Okay.
So I'm just going to show you and very tiny differences in the combination of notes changes the color enormously. So for example, remember we had day and we have night. Now if I just do this, I'm adding one note.
All right. Sounds familiar.
4 different colors. And so we chose to do Round Midnight, which I thought was relative to the whole idea of circadian rhythms, the great Thelonious Monk tune. But it has, those changes they're actually called changes, chord changes. And so every time the chord changes, the color changes. So I was just going to ask everybody when we do this there's different ways to listen to music, to concentrate particularly on the color changes that take place in this song, because this particular tune has some of the most classic and beautiful different colors of any song ever in jazz, Round Midnight.
Bill Buchman Trio, everybody, with Round Midnight by Thelonious Monk. Thank you so much for that. Rachel, come join me. Where'd you go? All right, so that is our final song for the evening. I just want to take a moment to thank you all again. We have a packed house, and this is a beautiful thing. So give yourselves a hand, okay? Bigger hand for you. You deserve more than that. So I just want to take a moment to once again thank for the National Jazz Museum for hosting us. I don't know, is Ryan still with us? Ryan Maloney, thank you so much. Please put your hands together for this wonderful director of this wonderful space in Harlem. Come and please make a donation because we really need your support. Also, I want to take a moment to thank everybody on staff here. Where's our staff? We've got the young lady. They're still running the show. Oh, they're still running the show. So put your hands together for everybody who's putting things together for the live stream. Kent Katner and his two interns in the back who have been doing mics and all of these wonderful things. So thank you, everybody for your hard work. It's Jane and Christian and there's so many people that come together to make this successful. I want to take a moment also to thank Boots Mousen. Where's Boots? On bass. We love Boots. And Mr. Bernard Lynette on drums for their amazing talent. I was like, aren't we so lucky to have such great musicians? And of course, the great Mr. Bill Buchman for his talent on the keys, his talent in paint, and his love of fruit flies. But last but not least, I want to just say what a wonderful pleasure it was to work with Miss Rachel Estrella. And I just think that she needs to have another hand. I think she did a fabulous job. So thank you for making my job easier.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. This is so fun.
And for teaching us all about the fruit fly. Who knew there was so much to learn about the fruit fly? Did you? No. Yeah, and no. So the next time you see one, you just go, okay, I won't crush you. We'll just let you do your, send them to Rachel. So at this point, we are going to thank you, but we're going to ask a big favor. Is that all right? Behind me, I think, do we have it? There is a QR code. I want you to take that lovely little rectangle thing that you have in your pocket. I think everyone here has one, except for the young lady reading the book, so yes. So if you have it, please scan that code, because that's going to give you a survey to give, so that you can give your opinion about what you thought about tonight's presentation. And that's great feedback for us, so we'll know which direction to go, what you thought about tonight, how we can make things better. Okay, now the next Music on the Brain, I think we have someone. April 16th, and it's going to be with a lady who has the best name in the world. Her name is Kelly Green. Get the joke? And that's her name. And she's an amazing pianist. And I don't know, is the scientist going to be up there? There is something in circulation with another QR code. If I always say, get in there early for Music on the Brain, because you're going to hear something cool like you did tonight, right? I want you to also please continue to support the arts. Come out. Just continue to support, because we need each other in these times, and y'all know what I'm talking about. We need each other to hold on to and stay connected with the science and the music. So my name is Amanda Humes. I thank you on behalf of the Columbia Zuckerman Center. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. If you have any other questions and want to talk to the musicians, come on up. And we are not going to forget to take a class picture, too, at the end, okay? So, guys, thank you so much. Have a great night. Yes.